Hello everyone. Today we have with us Mr. Anjaneya Mishra as our guest speaker for the podcast series. Welcome to the podcast, sir. Please allow me to introduce you. Anjaneya Mishra is an experienced leader with a demonstrated history of working across investment banking, like he worked at Credit Suisse and startups. He is currently an MBA candidate at INSEAD, class of 21D, and was previously Regional Director Asia at Zenysis Technologies, which is a Silicon Valley health tech startup. He worked with the Union Minister of Commerce and Industry and Civil Aviation in New Delhi. Also, he was the founder of Orange is the New Green, a food tech company based out of Mumbai, and also the author of best-selling Teenage Blues Parenting Clues. So, without further ado, I would like to start off with today's podcast on all about MBA entrance exams. I believe without directly jumping into the intricacies, I would request Mr. Anjaneya to shed some light on what MBA actually means. Is it really worth doing? And you can maybe merge this with reasons for doing an MBA and also what a candidate basically get out of it. So welcome to this podcast.
Well, firstly, thank you for that kind introduction. Those are a lot of questions you posed to me. So I'm going to start with something smaller. So I'm going to start with an MBA. So an MBA is basically helps you in many ways. Um, Essentially, it's like a bridge from one part of your career to another. Now you can think of it as a way for you to fast track or accelerate your career, or you can think of it as a way to transition from one occupation to another. So a lot of my friends who wanted to go into consulting would do an MBA to get into consulting or banking or so forth. Or suppose you're working for a Fortune 500, you want to be a senior executive one day, so you do an MBA and then sort of rise up through the ranks. So that's where an MBA really helps you. It also gives you other things, so skills. So, for example, if you're from a technical background, you get to learn about finance and management, operations. So, get a holistic view of like what it is to run a company. If you want to specialize in certain things, so for example, at INSEAD we had a lot of electives. So you could choose to specialize in different subjects. For example, operations management, venture capital investing, uh, crypto entrepreneurship, things like that. Um, so you can do that as well. So it gives you those skills. It gives you a very nice network. So you leave with a bunch of good friends, and it gives you a brand name, which is important because it sort of becomes a calling card in the future. So these are the reasons why an MBA is important. It's becoming increasingly so that you can make do without one. That makes sense because it's a very expensive degree, especially if you do one from abroad. So any of the top business schools, global business schools, either from the US or Europe, would be north of 100,000 US dollars, uh, which is approximately 1 crore. So they're really expensive. So you can think about it like it's not essential for your career, like you can make do without it. But it helps you in these respects. You have to sort of weigh the pros and cons and make your decision.
All right, sir. So I will now list some of the myths around MBA and you can maybe prove it right or
Do
wrong.
you think do you think I answered your question?
Yeah, yeah.
I
I think
did, right? Yeah,
yeah.
because you asked me a bunch of questions. I wasn't
Yeah,
sure
yeah.
if I answered all of them. So yeah, just tell me if you want me to answer any specific question, and I'll be happy to do so.
All right. So I will list
Yeah.
some of the myths. So first myth is that we need excellent academic background for doing an MBA. Is that right or like
I mean,
we need to be the topper in our undergraduate or something like that? Only then we will able to get in.
it helps. It's not wrong, but I mean, it's not essential either. It depends actually. I mean, what you're targeting. So, for example, if you're targeting HBS, Stanford, INSEAD, LBS, Wharton, these top schools, then you need excellent academic
So if
credentials.
someone has a not so good academics, like an 70% or an 80%,
I
So
mean, I
what
wouldn't
other
worry too
skills should
much
he
about
focus
it. See, it's so foreign MBAs, and this is only for foreign MBAs, right? So they don't think like Indian MBAs. So they're not too indexed on academics. So there are many things you can do. Suppose you don't do well in your undergrad for whatever reason. I mean, it's not the end of the world. So you can think about, for example, going for a master's before going for your MBA. That's a very common route to get into a top school. You can actually do better on your GMAT, uh, and then sort of that becomes the focal point of your academic experience. You can do really well in your work experience and have a very compelling story, and that will help you too. So it's sort of looked holistically. It's not like, oh, I mean, we'll only look at his marks or her marks, for example, and then not sort of go ahead with it. But yeah, they do play a factor, of course.
got it, sir. And the next myth is that only super intelligent students can crack exams like CAT and GMAT, and we need to be like from a background where we are good in Aryabhatta or we are good in NTSC from the starting itself.
I mean, I never did NTSE, so I'm not sure how true that myth is. Um, yeah, I mean, you have to be a bright kid. You have to know what you want. You have to be like, ambitious. You have to go get it. I think factors like these are actually more important than any exam you could crack in your life. Because if you're a go-getter, if you're ambitious, you can actually like sort of go out and figure your way because there are many different ways to get in. There isn't just one way. And you go out, you do some research, you see, like for example, you can go out on LinkedIn the way you reached out to me. And I'm sure there are so many people who would be more than happy to talk to young people because we have all been in that position. So we sort of understand the fears and the worries and anxiety of being in that position. And so you get a lot of guidance. You understand what could be a potential path for you, and you sort of tailor it yourself. Like so, but the most important thing is you to be driven, and you should really want it. That it will motivate you to go out and get it.
Got it, sir. The next one is that a lot of money is needed. Or is there any scholarship routes or something like that?
Yeah, no, this is absolutely true. You need to spend a lot of money. So GMAT is really expensive. Uh, I'm forgetting how much it is. Maybe $250. I'm not sure, but that's a considerable amount of money for an exam, especially if you want to give it again. So try not to give it again. Try to get it done one go. That'll save you some money. Each college application is like a lot. Again, I'm forgetting how much. So I applied only to Harvard, Stanford, and INSEAD. And I got dinged at Stanford. I interviewed at Harvard and INSEAD. So I wasn't a very average candidate. Most people apply to like 4 to 5 places. Then they'll hire an admissions consultant who charge a bomb. The admissions consultants are like a few lakhs easy. Um, and yeah, I mean, all in all, it's an expensive process. On once you get in, then it becomes a little easier. So you have opportunities for scholarships, and so like INSEAD gives a bunch of scholarships. I know HBS does because I have a couple of friends who are going there. So and I'm sure Stanford does too, to be honest. Like all top business schools do because they want the best students and they don't want money to be something that really stops you. So you get a bunch of scholarships, which which is very nice. You get like really affordable loans. So you get there are companies like Prodigy, and there are a bunch of others. So they'll give you like a loan at 7%, which you can start paying, I think, 6 months after you graduate from your business school. So you have some time to look for a job in case you want to take some time off. before looking for a job, or you want to just chill, whatever. I mean, whatever you want to do, it gives you that flexibility, basically.
Got it. So the next one is that we must have a 3-4 years of work experience. That will really help to get into an MBA program.
I mean, I don't think you need work experience for CAT, for IIMs and Indian MBA institutes. You do need it for ISB, and you definitely need it for ISB and foreign universities.
So there are no like freshers who just graduated and got into INSEAD or
No,
got it.
I mean in INSEAD you have this program. Um, so one of my close friends, um, her name is Mandy Bars. If you check her out, she's an American girl. So she was doing her master's at Johns Hopkins in the US. And there's a program apparently where you can do a master's at Johns Hopkins and an MBA at INSEAD in one go. I'm not sure what that program is. I really didn't have much time to look into it. But yeah, I mean that's the only person I know ever who got in without work experience.
Got it, sir. So the myths are now over. So the next question is that there are a bunch of specializations we can do with MBA, and
Hmm.
it is really confusing how to decide which one to choose. And there is a concept of dual specialization in some courses, and also maybe you can merge this with executive MBA and also tell about that also.
That's a very difficult question to answer, actually. So by specialization, do you mean like
Like MBA in
some
finance,
people
MBA in
say,
marketing.
yeah,
Like in India, we generally have MBA in finance and marketing and something like that. They are more like famous.
right.
So the question is basically we have equal growth opportunities in e-specialization. Like in India, I don't think that finance and marketing are the top ones.
Hmm. Right. I mean, if you know that you're going to work in a certain industry for the rest of your life, then only then it makes sense to do a specialization in that industry or function. So if you know you want to be in marketing, then it makes sense, I guess, to do marketing or finance. But I imagine in finance, for example, in finance, IB firms would not look at a specialization. Um, I don't know about other shops, so but I do know that IB wouldn't. Um, in and that's really it actually. I mean, if you know you want to be there, you should go ahead and do it. If you don't know, um, or or maybe open to the possibilities of the future, or you don't want to tie yourself down, then you should do a general MBA.
All right. So then you can take up what is an executive MBA.
Executive MBA, from what I understand, again, don't know too much about it, is uh, is an MBA that you do later on in your career, like when you're already like a senior manager level. So you're on the cusp of like senior leadership, basically. So it's sort of to push you through the barrier of manager and senior leadership. Um, yeah, that's what I know about them. They have the same courses as us, so they learn very similar things. They're definitely better taken care of. So these institutes, they sort of lavish more time and attention on these executive MBAs. Also, because they're senior people, so they don't spend as much time on campus. They'll be there a couple of weeks in a year. Um, yeah, and I guess your question would be why do an MBA if you can do an executive MBA? They're for different stages in your life. So, executive MBA is when you're older. Uh, let's say you're working now, you don't really see the need for an MBA right now, so you don't do it. And then later you're on the cusp, so you do really well, but you're on the cusp of like manager to senior leadership, and you're like, oh, maybe I need a little bit of push to get through. And so that's when you do it. Whereas an MBA is for like the young, wild, and free.
Got it, sir. So, sir, there are many sessions organized in our college from IMA seniors of or alumni of ours. So the
Yeah.
main question of concern is should we do after graduation or work experience, which we earlier talked about. Like 50-60% of my batchmates are doing a
Mhm.
CAT exam. So should they do like right now? What's your personal opinion?
I mean, I think the question boils down to whether you want to do an MBA in India or from abroad.
Because we don't know
So
na,
if you,
right now. We are just exploring. We don't know what will happen after. Should we go for
so
placements? Or, yeah.
I mean, I didn't want to do an MBA in India. I was very sure about it when I was in college. So, um, I mean, it's a good question. I can see why that would be uh, a conundrum right now. Um, See, all said and done, these are questions that you rarely ever have complete answers to or full clarity on. So you just basically see what you get. It's not a bad idea. So you do your 3 year undergrad, you do your 2 years of MBA, you have a good time. So you're still in college, you're continuing to have a good time, you know, and then you graduate, you get a good a good salary. It's not as high as if you were to work and then do your MBA, but of course, it's not terrible either. And then yeah, and then you start your career, and then you just continue with that. So it's not bad. It's not a bad option. Um, the only thing I would say what I would say for it is it saves you a bunch of time uh, in terms of doing an MBA. You know, because you're done with it. Uh, People abroad don't really understand this concept too well. So they're like, but you didn't work, so how did you do your MBA? And you have to explain that to them. So it can be a challenge in terms of transferability. But of course, like brand names like I'm Ahmedabad and I'm Bangalore are recognized abroad as well. So if you get into one of those, you're golden, so you can sort of move to Singapore and Hong Kong and basically these economies because there's a significant alumni base there. Um, if, however, uh, okay, so what I have against it is when you do an MBA, you are learning very like sort of practical concepts, and then you use this process of interrogation where you sort of assess your experience against what you're being taught by the professor, and you use that experience as an interrogation tool to sort of gain maximum value out of it. Uh, I feel that if you don't have the experience in the first place, what are you going to interrogate it as? Um, the real world operates in a very different way from university. So I would encourage you to step out and experience it. Maybe even if it's just for a year, you can take a call on whether you want to do uh, CAT or any of the other exams, or go abroad or ISB, whatever. I mean, there's so many options. But sort of having that exposure is indeed quite helpful.
Got it, sir. So, sir, you said that you didn't want to give MBA in India. So, what was the story
Mhm.
behind it? And we know the CAT is very competitive. Is the same case with GMAT or is it something else?
Right. So I'll answer the second question first. So GMAT is different than CAT. So GMAT is like SAT, if you're familiar with that. It's like an online exam. You have to go to a center. They ask you a bunch of these really silly looking questions like math and logical reasoning and essentially basic skills. Um, and they sort of see how quick you are and how accurate you are. Cat, I have no idea, to be honest. So again, I wouldn't want to mislead you with any half information that I might have picked up from any stray conversations here and there. Uh, I believe they're very different exams because in the CAT you are marked in a normal way. So you'll, for example, out of 200 or how many ever questions there are, you will, let's say you get 95%, right? So about 190 questions, right? And so you will then be sort of judged on that. So you say, I got 190 on 200. That's not how the GMAT works. The way the GMAT works is you, for every right question, you are upgraded to a higher score level. For every wrong question, you're sort of de-elevated to a lower score level, and that continues till the end of the exam. And your level at the last question is the level at which you are at, is your score. So, for example, you start off at, let's say, everybody starts off at, let's say, 600. You get the first question wrong, right, you go to 620. You get the second question right, you go to 640. Keeps going on. Let's say you get every question right in a row, which is very difficult to do because the difficulty increases with each score level. So you get an 800 level question, you get that wrong, you go to 780 or 790. So that's how it is.
So why did you not consider CAT in the first sight? What was the story behind it? Could you explain?
The story. Um, I wanted to sort of have a little bit more exposure. I so when I graduated, I was very clear I wanted to be an investment banker. Since I was in school, actually, I don't know how that happened. It just I think I was just reading a book, and there was this book called Liar's Poker, and then that somehow really caught hold of my imagination. And I imagined myself as an investment banker for many years. And then I finally got it, and I was pretty thrilled about it. So it didn't really make sense to do CAT at the point because the amount I was getting paid is what I graduates from CAT would be getting paid. So it didn't really make sense for me. But to be honest, I never really considered it because I was so focused on my goal. I was like, this is what I want to do, and nothing else matters pretty much. So yeah, that was me. Um, I was also a little intimidated by CAT. I mean, it's a little too competitive, you know. It's billions, millions and millions of people, like so many bright kids just trying to study and get good marks. It just felt like too much for me.
Yeah,
And I never felt that that was the key to success. So
yeah. Even 99.7 percentile is not sure of getting to IMA. Yeah,
yeah, I know, and India has no dearth of like bright kids,
yeah.
who are who are like really motivated and studying hard. So yeah, man, it's a tough game. Cat is a tough game.
All right, so that was all from my side. Any one life learning that you want to share to our
Life learning.
viewers, or anything from
I,
INSEAD that you learned, or anything?
I mean, you guys should just remember to have fun because you won't get these years back. So I mean, career works itself out. So you'll all find your way and just have fun, you know, because you're young and fresh. So cherish that. I would like if I would do it over again, I would have more fun than not.
All right. Thank you so much, sir. That was all
All
from my
right,
side.
bye.
Bye bye,
Have a
sir.
good day.
Thank you.
Bye.